What's up, people? One Up Punch here. So I picked up this game called Inkulinati a while ago, and it was an early access that they were going through developments, changes, balancing of the different beasts, and basically the whole mechanics of how the game worked. They put out the game in 1.0 today, February 22nd, 2024, and now with it being in 1.0, they did add like a couple other things like some beasts, like a frog, some gameplay improvements, and some other things I'm going to touch on later. Essentially, what is this game and how does it play? You play as this person that likes to draw or draws these different beasts that will come to help him in combat and deal with other beasts and Inkulinatis that are trying to beat you. And when they lose or you lose, you either progress to the next level or you'll lose a quill and then you could retry over and try to beat them in a rematch. When you get into the actual combat, it's got a weird type of like turn-based strategy type of formula, and it's not necessarily a card game per se. You are using like different abilities and being able to summon different cards or creatures to the field and being able to defeat the other characters in the game. You'll also have different areas in the roguelike elements to where it'd be a shop. You'll be like an event that has like a couple of decisions. You could buy new beasts, you could buy new trinkets or new skills, as well as more quills so that you can have more rematch ability. Other than the store or maybe a couple of places that give you decisions that you can make, they also have different combat areas that get difficult as time goes on. They'll have elites, they'll have beast versus beast fights, and just the Inkulinati standard. The beast versus beast fights are actually just you using whatever you have for your army and fighting against another army to hopefully beat them before they beat you. Once you lose all your beasts, the game is over, and you have to restart the match or flee, and the game/run will be over. But if they lose their beasts, then you get a reward, and then continue on after that. They'll have different skills for these different characters. You'll have a sword wielder, spear, bow and arrow, and then the donkey, which is a bard that will use his butt and fart into it and give somebody a headache that does debuffs and so on. They also have the dog here that has a sword. He could do cleave, which will attack on his left and right side, and then just do a standard slashing attack. You have the dog that has the arrow, or bow and arrow, that can shoot a single target, or he could do a hail of arrows and hit 3 in a row. Next up is a couple other units I forgot to talk about, like the spear. The spear has 2 range and can do penetrating attacks to where they can attack 2 people at the same time. They also have a cat that is like a bishop that does an attack that's 2 range from far away. It could heal or it could give people halo/accuracy. And there's just a couple of units that do different things. But essentially what Inkulinati is that you have your Inkulinati, which is the one that's creating all the creatures. And each turn you're able to summon these creatures to help you out in the field that will essentially go after the other Inkulinati or anything that's coming after you and basically kill them so they don't kill your character. They also have the ink blots on the ground to where you can get ink, and ink is needed in order to summon more creatures. If you have like maybe 5 or 6, that might be the cap, but when they die, then you can summon more. If the Inkulinati is destroyed or beaten, the game is over, and then you have to do a rematch or flee, and the game/run is completely over. The other thing I forgot to mention when it comes down to the different races of beasts is that there's bunnies, there's cats, there's dogs, there's even pigeons with swords, and there's just different races that you could become. They also have different unique units like Cerberus, which is a 3-headed dog that can bite, or I think he could do flame attacks. I'm not really sure about him right now. And there's other ones too, like you could be an Exploder, which is this 2-legged kind of kangaroo with a giant tail, and he's a reptile, and he'll run at you, and when he dies, he'll explode and do 5 damage to anybody in a 3-line area. So Inkulinati has your ink on the ground that you can go ahead and farm up to get more ink to put out more units. Then you'll have the different objects that you could push and pull with the actual Inkulinati hand, which there'll be supports on the bottom that you could use. You can go left, you can go right by using a finger. You could also blot out by poking it and it'll do 5 damage. You could heal, you could push, or you could just end your turn and get more ink that way. And those are just a couple of mechanics that you can do with the game. Like I said earlier, when it comes down to the actual premise of combat, it's you versus the other Inkulinati to where they're going to create creatures to come kill yours and your Inkulinati while you're trying to do the same thing to them. The other thing I like is the combat when it comes down to how it actually works with the attack. You don't just select an attack, you select an attack and it has a weird like up and down type of meter. And when you press the mouse button again before it hits a specific number, that's how much damage you'll do to them. You could do one-shot kills. You could hurt them quite a bit for like 5 or 7 damage. And if they have a skull, that's instant dead. In closing, before the end of the video, I wanted to let people know that I think this is definitely something people should check out in terms of games to play if you're into strategy or just like the medieval art style of what it looks like. Inkulinati right now is currently $14.99 on Steam. That's currently a sale until March 7th. The full asking price is $24.99. That's how much I paid for when I bought it in early access. Still, I got about maybe 10 hours in the game so far, and I went back to go play it just to see what 1.0 had to offer. It's still got that weird type of strategy, but medieval times art style. You have the different animals that have the different weapons and skills. You have the blots on the ground and the artifacts/objects you have to push and pull, like the cauldrons that explode with fire, and some of the other units. Not to mention some of the roguelite elements that you're going through different objectives and different events to where you're opening up a store or you're making a decision, you're talking to your master about something that happened at a party, whichever that is. And that's all I got for Inkulinati, everybody. I've been One Nut Punch. Thanks for watching as per usual. I got some other games to be working on that did come out of early access into 1.0, such as Cygnus Enterprise. And I think I was going to touch on Moonbreaker, but I'm not sure yet. But anyway, like I said, I've been One Nut Punch. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later in the next one.